My history personally is that I've been an activist since I was 17 years old. And I'm a senior citizen now, so that's a lot of years, roughly 50 years. And some of the groups that I've worked with have been peace groups, some have been people of color led, some have been environmental groups, some have been safe energy groups. When I work with groups that are people of color identified, like the NAACP, the Southside Christian Center in Chicago, or then the Way in Minneapolis, or the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission, then I operate in a different way. I'm a white ally. I am not a leader. I'm a follower. And I promote that to other white activists who work in with various groups. A white ally is somebody who helps people of color identified and led groups. So for example, if I'm a white ally in NAACP, I attend the meetings, but I'm very quiet. I do a lot more listening than talking. I don't argue for positions in a meeting, and I'm a member of a committee, but I resist being the chair of a committee, for example. So it's a different role. It's a support role, and when we do that with authenticity, we can help a group, for example, get some outside resources that maybe they didn't have access to. And so that's a different way to exist in a group. When I'm in a peace group, I'm a loudmouth, okay? I'm a leader. I will suggest things. I'll argue for things. I never do that when I'm working, for example, with Black Lives Matter, with NAACP. Never did so when I was working in Indian country for 25 years. It's just a different way of being, a way that asks permission, a way that doesn't take up floor space or meeting time. I never violate my principles. I'm a pacifist, for example. If a people of color-led group or identified group is advocating violence of any sort, I won't be involved in that. So I'm never going to cross my own principles, but I'm never going to stand up inside that group and say, don't do this. This is an immoral thing to do. I think that's not my place. So I teach in conflict resolution. If you boil all of that down, conflict resolution comes down to fairness. Is everybody being treated fairly? Does everybody get respect? Does everybody give respect? Does everybody have dignity? I mean, I'm just an old hockey player and a former member of the Carpenters Union back in Minneapolis. I'm just like anybody else, and I make the decision based on that. To me, this is easily understandable knowledge. Nobody likes to feel like this isn't fair to me, and nobody likes to feel like it isn't fair to them either. You know, you've got exactly the other model in our current regime out of Washington. How can I be a better predator? How can I avoid paying any taxes? How can I get over on everybody? Well, pretty soon that model is going to be seen as, this doesn't feel very fair to me. It doesn't feel like we're treating anybody else very fairly either. So to me, every method runs through that filter. Can we agree this is a fair way to do things? When it's a people of color issue, that's a justice issue that applies to that particular subset of humanity. And so they are the leaders then in their struggle. If I come in and say, I'm your white savior, I'm here to fix things for you, that's not a model that's going to wash very well. Wouldn't feel right to me, wouldn't feel right to them. So I believe that in an NAACP meeting, for example, I go to them every month, and I've probably said 10 words in the last 3 years in those meetings. I do see a lot of white people piping up in those meetings, and I think I cringe, especially when the room is, let's say, 50% white people, 50% African Americans, and African Americans only contribute 20 or 30% of the airtime. I find that unacceptable. It's a good idea for white allies, in my mind, to just zip it and In those meetings, listen hard and look for opportunities to help.